Hi, and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Northborough, the COVID-19 edition. For those of you who haven't seen the show, my name is Art Bergeron. I'm an elder law attorney. My day job, I work at Myrick O'Connell, which is over in Westborough. This is not about elder law, though. This is about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've been to one of my presentations before, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And if they're in Northborough, that means they want to be right here. Except that this is the COVID-19 edition, so they're in Northborough and they're really tired of being at home. They're starting to get out, they want to see their grandchildren, and they want to know especially what in the world is going on at the senior center, because they go over and they knock on the door and no one's answering. And so I convinced your new senior center director, Liz Tretiak, to be my co-host on this show so that she can really be helping you figure all of this out. And she's got a terrific guest who has been, many of you who've been to the senior center have known for a long time. So she's going to introduce her, and we're just going to talk about a lot of this stuff. So who do we have today, Liz? And Liz, thank you very much for doing this.
Oh, thank you. But I want to jump in and say, if somebody comes and knocks on the door, we are here, so we'll answer. And we'll come out and talk to you. We're here inside the building every day. We're just not open to the public.
That's great to know.
Today, I asked Jocelyn Ehrhardt, our wonderful outreach coordinator and volunteer coordinator, to come on and talk to us a little bit about what she's been up to the past couple months, how our residents are faring, and just really what else should we know about. So Jocelyn, do you want to just kind of tell us a little bit about how long you've been here and what you do?
Okay, sure. So I've been at the Northborough Senior Center since 2008. It started out as a part-time position and gradually moved into a full-time position. Prior to that, I'd also been doing outreach in Needham. So I had that experience to kind of build on. And I have a job that really allows me to do a broad range of things. I'm really fortunate that I don't have to limit myself to one or two different things. But I would say a big part of my job is helping people with benefit eligibility matters. There are a lot of benefits that people aren't aware of. Information doesn't necessarily trickle down easily to people. There are things like property tax exemptions, fuel assistance, subsidized in-home care, things that people just might not run across easily. And so I can help people delve into those issues a little bit more and help them find out what the guidelines are, how to apply, and assist with that process. So we have enough paperwork as it is these days that sometimes one more thing feels like it's going to push you over the edge. And I'm more than happy to help people with that, to kind of get it on track, and then to help people follow up. That's another big part of the process. It's just a way things work these days, that's kind of in the lap of the person that's applying. So I think that's a big part of what I do, and there's a range of things that people can benefit from that they're just not aware of.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you've adapted your position since we closed to the public in March, and over these past 3-4 months, what are the most common things that people are reaching out to you for?
Yeah, well, it's been really interesting. Obviously, the biggest change has been that there are no face-to-face interactions. But there have been a number of workarounds, email, the regular mail, and just doing a quick trade-off of documents. Those things have worked, and it's been reassuring because I've been able to continue to work with people on day-to-day matters. Their applications for mass health didn't stop just because we are closed to the public. So we're able to continue to do that, to get people connected with Shine. we've been really fortunate in Northborough that Helping Hands got right on top of figuring out how to continue loaning medical equipment. They worked really hard on that. And so we're able to continue doing those kinds of things. And yeah, I would say that people have been really responsive to this whole situation. They've taken recommendations to heart and have followed them, and have adapted really well to, calling in and checking on what's available, that kind of thing.
Now, Jocelyn, I'm curious, just to connect with that. I know that you said that you also are responsible on the volunteer side. How has that changed? Because I know that some of the traditional volunteer stuff would be like driving people to medical appointments or doing stuff or doing like Meals on Wheels, I think, right?
Yeah.
So how has that changed? And kind of going forward, I'm really interested in how you kind of see it, changing. Because of course, you and Liz and others must be talking about that a lot now, just trying to see, you don't know when things will change, but in terms of how it will change.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Arthur. The volunteer piece is on pause basically right now. There are a lot of issues that may not even be apparent to people. We can't easily give out participant information, even though people may want to write letters or do phone calls. And then of course, being in a car or, even we don't want to put volunteers in, compromising situations just because they're doing something nice for somebody else. So
Right.
that program really is sadly on pause. And I think we do talk about it all the time, and it's really hard to have a vision right now, but I think it'll be very different. It's hard to know, but the whole scope of what we do may be very different. I have no doubt, though, that there'll be a role for volunteers. There are so many people that in this community that have talents and want to pitch in, that I know we'll find a role for them. It's just not very obvious right now.
Right. And so right now, it's not like you're looking for volunteers, because at this point, there aren't those roles for them to be playing, just because, as you say, these issues about, we realize that your volunteers are seniors as well as the others, and this is the vulnerable population. And of course, you two young people don't appreciate this, right? But us old guys, you really, really notice it. You really, because we realize that as things open up and stuff, it's the seniors that are nervous about it.
So in talking, sorry, Jocelyn.
No, go ahead.
Talking about volunteers and how kind of things that people typically volunteered with here inside the senior center are on pause. There's other community groups that are continuing on, like community meals. So that was kind of going to lead me into my next question. What are some of the other resources out there, Jocelyn, that you've been referring people to that have really helped people kind of weather this situation?
Yeah, that's a good point. I pointed to Shine and to Helping Hands. Just knowing, I think that some things are continuing to do business as usual has been really reassuring. And then the food pantry, Northborough Food Pantry, has done a wonderful job of providing curbside service so that people can still go there weekly and see a friendly face that comes out with the bag and maybe accommodates a need or a special request or something like that. And then a group of people in town recently figured out how to restart the community meals program, and that's been again a really reassuring program for people. They don't get to sit with people and share a meal, and that's unfortunate, but I think they've done a wonderful job of making sure that there's volunteer contact and, a friendly wave and some nice, caring attention for the people that come in to pick up those curbside meals. In the midst of all this, I think that's been a really nice experience for people.
And the curbside meal is still at Trinity Church
That's
on Wednesdays?
Right. Yes, Wednesdays from 6 to 7. They'll direct the traffic through the parking lot. They have it set up so that people can drive through, not get out of their car, and get a curbside meal. And then I would say another program that surprised people was the SNAP program, the food stamp program. They have been giving people additional funds through this so that people who rely on food stamps weren't limited to what they could stock up on. And that's made a big difference to people. So there are a number of programs that allow people to respond to the situation or continue with business as usual, and I think, created a reassuring atmosphere.
Great.
And so I'm just curious, how do you, as the outreach person, how do you manage to keep outreaching? How are you connecting with people now? Because I know that's going to be a real challenge. Like, do you have a big list of people that you're contacting? And for people who might not be on that list, is there a number they can call if they want to be contacted? And how do you think that's going to, how do you think that's going to play out into the future?
Yeah, all those are good points. We did early in the pandemic, when we closed, a number of staff called the seniors in Northborough, and just to tell people we're here to call, and we've gotten some requests for assistance in the process of doing that. And then I do have a list of people that I try to check in with periodically. People call the senior center. I get referrals from different town departments, and I'm always amazed at how people find their way to outreach. So it's been steady, not like it would be if we were open and people were coming through the door, but people have, they find themselves in a situation where they don't know where else to turn, and they may think it's a long shot, but it ends up that a lot of times we can help them, navigate a situation.
Can I just ask kind of a question related to it? I know that, once again, in the nature of my work, I find myself always talking to a lot of folks who've got memory problems, or to folks who are taking care of people who have memory problems. I guess this is really a question to the two of you. How are they dealing with that? Because I'm just saying to myself, it's so often these are like practically 24/7 anyway. They're taking care of people, except that they used to have the occasional people who would come in just so they could give them respite or something. And so I'm just wondering, from your experience, how are they dealing with it? And is there like a support group, something that they can talk to at this time? Because I talked to some folks, I just can't imagine it, how they're doing it now. Just being, especially older folks where once again, you've got one spouse who's really, always been taking care of the other. And now, oh my God, it's total. Just wondering.
Yeah, it's an area of concern for sure. I think people have done a variety of things. It's definitely a taxing situation under normal circumstances, and this is added stress. The Daybreak folks are still in contact with our facilitator, Christine, so she's just kind of checking in and following up on how they're doing.
Great.
Some people have decided over these past couple months to have somebody come in, once the agencies kind of set protocol for their workers, to have somebody resume coming in and give them a break. So some people are, taking that chance and having help in the home. There are some online support groups too. I know A Better Day in Marlborough has one. And then I have an email, I got an email last week for a couple others. And I can't, remember exactly where they are, but people can certainly call me and I can get them that information.
So the main thing is you're really still there for all of those kinds of questions. As Liz mentioned, you're actually really a lot of times there, right?
Yeah,
right?
we are. Yeah.
And so if they call and the phone doesn't get answered right away, it's not because no one's home. It's like you're going to be able to get back to them quickly, which is great.
Yeah. If there's only one of us there, they may get the answering machine, but people are encouraged just to leave a message. We're going to get back to them. And the kinds of things you're talking about are important things to reach out about. And people are coming up with ways to adapt to this situation. So yeah.
And Liz, from your perspective, are there any particular groups that you're finding are having an especially hard time through all of this? Because you're dealing with such a range of issues.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone is kind of in the same boat where it's just so chaotic that everyone is struggling. But I feel for the caregivers for people who have dementia or just caregiving for an older relative. I myself am a caregiver for my parents and I, like Jocelyn mentioned earlier, had to make the decision to get in-home care 5 days a week to try to make it work. It's just so challenging. And to make that decision, even, is it safe to send someone in the home, was so difficult. So I feel for the caregivers right now, but that's just my personal connection. So if anybody who sees this is a caregiver, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will chat with you even about personal experience and what works and how to cope through this.
And how to cope through it. It was funny. I was watching the news last night, and they were talking about this kind of national poll regarding the issues regarding the people's opinion about the current national leadership that's dealing with all of this. But one of the subsets was, they said they did focus groups because there were a lot of folks who were seniors who were really upset with the national leadership. And she said people were just mad. And especially, she said it was like a grandmother's revolt because they're all mad because they can't see their grandchildren, right? That was, if you're
right.
an older person, that's kind of your steady state, is that it's what it rejuvenates you. And to not be able to have that is just killing them, them. A challenge.
Yeah, so many people rely on the socialization of seeing your family, coming to the senior center. So we're doing our best to be the senior center without walls and reach out to people through various different methods, and stay connected.
That's a good way to put it. A senior center without walls. Right?
Yeah, I think I borrowed that from Marlborough.
That's very good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So Jocelyn, how do you see it going forward? How have the calls changed? Have things changed since stuff started opening up locally?
I would say that there have been some changes. Initially people were more about hunkering down and making that work. And, a lot of the requests I get are still for help with, day-to-day business, or the things that don't stop even though we're in this kind of shutdown mode. But people are talking more, like Liz said, about missing socialization and opportunities to see somebody face to face. I think a lot of people have done a great job of, getting on the phone and calling people that, maybe they haven't talked to for a while and doing it with some regularity. But more and more we're hearing that people wish they had the opportunity to see one another.
Yes. And speaking of that adaptation, has any senior actually called you and said, let's do a Zoom meeting? I'm just curious, right? because Zoom has become, well, it's like we're sitting here, we're here now saying to ourselves, how much of this stuff did we know 5 months ago? You always heard about it, but all of a sudden it's like you really do it, right?
Yeah, I haven't had a Zoom meeting with anybody, but there's some exercise classes. There's talk about a couple of other programs, not exercise-based, going to that kind of model. So
yeah,
I think, with time, people become more open to dealing with that kind of thing. It's an alternative in the meantime.
it's coming. It's coming. And I guess to you, Liz, I know that we're running a little bit close on time, but I'm curious from your perspective. We're doing this every few weeks. We want to keep people informed on kind of what's going on. What do you think's coming up? What's coming up? And what's coming up at the senior center? Even if people are knocking in, not being able to get in, what's coming up?
More virtual programming and hopefully some safe, distanced, perhaps outdoor meetings.
Oh,
Stay tuned. We'll see how things progress.
but that's a real possibility then.
Yeah.
So it really is going to be a senior center without wall. Just going to have to get one of those big canopies, right?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So Jocelyn, thanks a million for being willing to do this.
Thank you.
And on behalf of all of us, Frank and Mary's, thanks for doing all this stuff. And keeping us in touch, because we know it's been tough for a lot of us. And Liz, thanks for being willing to do this, right? Finding great guests. And any final words before we tune off?
Well, thank you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
I was going to say thank you to Jocelyn for joining us, and thank you, Arthur, for facilitating this. And if people want the most up-to-date information, check out our newsletter and the town website. We post updates on the town website fastest.
And the best phone number is?
508-393.
5035.
393-5035. And Jocelyn, last words?
Yeah, I was just going to say, call us. Don't think twice about it. Just give us a call. Even if you just need to check in and chat for a couple minutes, we're happy to talk with people. And certainly if you're struggling with something, give us a call.
And so the final word here is Liz and Jocelyn. And by the way, I do this in other communities too. People who do this work because they love this work, right? So it's not like you're calling them and they're like, oh, geez, another call. They want to know. They want to know, and they want to be able to figure this stuff out, right? Whether it's helping with benefits, helping you connect with people, helping you connect with the programming that Liz was talking about that they want to be doing increasingly online. Hopefully you can go to their wild parties when they start holding wild parties outside. And in the meantime, thank you very much, Jocelyn. Thanks a million, Liz, for doing this. Thanks, folks, for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Northborough, the COVID-19 edition. Thank you very much.